the Los Angeles Rams are still a threat. I know this is going to sound real crazy, but I agree. So let's see what kind of evidence they got to support this. If you're an NFL fan or a Rams fan, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's see what's going on here.
Great nucleus of young talent, plus Matthew Stafford still there for at least another year. The window is open for the Rams.
I just want to talk about Puka Nacua. I mean, we're only 4 weeks into the season. He's the best offensive player in football, in my mind. And I want to emphasize player.
The Rams, I think you're seeing the makings of a Super Bowl team here. The way that they finished that game to me is the big thing, right? It shows Sean McVay's trust in Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay's trust in Puka Nacua, Sean McVay's trust in his team. I think what we saw from the Rams was championship mettle, which was great to see.
This got me hyped, y'all.
The time has come to stop sleeping on these Los Angeles Rams. Written off, counted out, left behind after their Super Bowl run, but champions don't disappear. They regroup. And now Sean McVay has quietly built one of the most balanced teams in football, an offense that can light you up, and a defense that can shut you down. The names may have changed, but the standard hasn't. And because of those reasons and many more we're going to go over in today's video, the Los Angeles Rams are still a major threat. All right, K-Rich crew, we are back for another one. And personally, I got to put on one of my favorite Super Bowl hats for
that hat is nice.
LA Rams hat we got on today. Low-key, one of my favorites that I've got in my hat collection. But real quick, one thing I did want to ask you guys to do is after this video, head over to my Instagram, follow me there. It is the same name as we have over here on the YouTube. We're going to be starting to upload over there, just extra content, some behind the scenes stuff, and all of the stuff that personally I can show you guys so that way we can have a better community and just build the YouTube and grow together as a community, as well as from the Discord too. But now with all of that out of the way, we have to get into today's video about the Los Angeles Rams. And really just for starters, we need to talk about how this offense is one of the most explosive units in the NFL. And not only that too, just how when they're in sync and in a flow, they have to be one of the scariest units to face in the NFL. As we all know, for many years, the star of this offense was, of course, Cooper Kupp. But the team had to let him go after 8 successful years in LA. Many people were asking why would the team let one of the best receivers in franchise history walk away, especially to a division rival in the Seattle Seahawks. And well, as we all know, it's because they had another superstar wide receiver kind of just coming up out of nowhere from BYU. 5th rounder, I think, is who he was, and everybody knows who I'm talking about. Say it with me. Puka Nacua. Now in his 3rd year, Nacua.
You know what's crazy, guys? Both Puka and Nacua was drafted pretty late. That's the crazy part. And the thing that I respect about the Rams organization is when they get rid of people, they pretty much put them in pretty good positions in order to be successful, right? You had Cooper Kupp go to the Seattle Seahawks. You had Jalen Ramsey go over to the Miami Dolphins, which he was happy about. Van Jefferson, a wide receiver we had before, he was sent over to Atlanta, which his dad was the wide receiver coach. I don't know if he still is now. Jalen Ramsey now is at Pittsburgh, by the way. But I like when they rotate players out because originally Robert Woods would arguably be the wide receiver 1 of the team, but the year that they won the Super Bowl, he had a season-ending injury. That's what got Cooper Kupp a lot more reps, and he became the star of the team. Robert Woods was traded out, I think, to Tennessee. Then as Kupp started to, I wouldn't say he deteriorated, but you can tell last season that the Rams wasn't giving him as many targets, obviously because of Puka Nacua, but I think some of the injuries that kept reoccurring with Cooper Kupp probably played a role in that, but, you know, we swapped them out. We ended up getting Puka Nacua. So I just like the way that they operate. That's just me yapping. Sorry. Whoa. What's going on?
Become not only the #1 receiver on the team, but one of the very best receivers in all of pro football. As I said before, despite being drafted as late as the 5th round out of BYU in 2023, he's made 31 teams regret missing out on him. And really, you could say even 32 because luckily the Rams did take a chance on him.
Yes.
But that's the thing too. He's a true superstar in this league currently with numbers that rival even the likes of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. As we all know, Nacua set the all-time rookie record for receiving yards in 2023 with 1,486 and managed another 990 in his 2nd season despite missing 6 games due to injury. He's established himself as Matthew Stafford's favorite target, and this year he honestly looks on course to have his best year yet. Like, as we all know, Nacua is just one of those special...
But he's hurt and he's not gonna be playing this Sunday, which sucks, but he's still a beast though.
players that can really kill you in so many different ways and from anywhere on the field. Like the dude is a threat over the middle on short passes, or if he really wants to kill you with separation, he'll just use his good route running and speed to kill you that way. Like Puka Nacua, and you can tell me in the comments how good you think he is, but personally for me, Puka Nacua probably right now this year at least is the best wide receiver. I know he got an injury last week, but hopefully he can recover from that pretty quick and maintain the kind of historic pace that he's at right now. And if he can, he's going to be something, top 3, top 5, especially top 5, but for sure a top 3 receiver in the NFL this year. And look, I know I can give you my whole personal opinion about how I feel about Puka Nacua and everything, but it's not just how I feel or how another analyst feels.
Stats.
It's truthfully being backed up by the stats he's doing week in and week out. Like Nacua is amongst the league's very best in pretty much any category you can think of, from first downs to missed tackles to catch percentage, showing how vital he is in all aspects of the passing game. He's one of the very few wideouts this year to have picked up 100 yards on deep, intermediate, and short passes, highlighting just how versatile he is across the board. And excitingly enough for Rams fans too, he now has a new partner in crime in the receiving core, which as we all know, it's the 3-time first-team All-Pro and future Hall of Famer, Davante Adams, who is looking for a late career renaissance following a tough 2024 season split with the Raiders and the Jets. Yes, Davante Adams isn't quite the force of nature he was during Aaron Rodgers' MVP seasons in Green Bay, but he still has plenty to offer in this league as one of the very best second options in the NFL. Like, I mean, even just in his second game as a Ram, he put up 106 yards against the Tennessee Titans, marking his 50th career game, including the playoffs in which he cracked the 100-yard mark. After years of being the star in Green Bay, Las Vegas, and New York, he now looks even more comfortable to slot into the new second option on the depth chart for another veteran quarterback. And yes, of course, I'm talking about Matthew Stafford. As we all know, Stafford has been a prolific passer ever since he did enter the league, and of the 50 men with the most passing yards in league history, only Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, and Peyton Manning have thrown for more yards per game. There's never been any doubt of Stafford's arm talent and his ability as a top-level quarterback, but in the lead-up to the 2025 season, many rumors had begun to swirl around his aggravated disc in his back and his ability to play a full season at a high level. I think it's safe to say too that if you've just watched football in the past couple of years and just seen Matthew Stafford play, you don't have to just be a Rams fan to see that basically anytime this dude gets hit, like, and trust me, when he gets hit in the playoffs, it's even worse. Like against the Lions last year.
Yeah, that was bad.
Like, he takes a hard hit. You think
you have to remind me of that missed flag. They should have got flagged for roughing the passer. Oh my God. But on a positive note, for me, Matthew Stafford was one of my favorite quarterbacks, even when he was on Detroit. So when I found out that he ended up on the Rams, I was going crazy. And people are like, I don't understand it. He's washed. Why do you like him? Until the Super Bowl happened. And I had nothing else to say. It wasn't nothing else to tell him.
May not get up. Like, it is actually crazy
He's tough.
Hard Matthew Stafford can get hit and then still get up and play through. Like, every time he does get hit hard, Rams fans for sure, but even myself, are holding their breath that please just Matthew Stafford, get up. We need you. But that is the good news for Rams fans, and just if you're a fan of Matthew Stafford, because so far this season, he's coped pretty well with any injuries he's faced or has been kind of any lingering injuries that I should say that have been kind of bothering him. He has been able to play through them so far this year. He definitely looks as composed as ever in the pocket too, and honestly, he looks 10 years younger at times, just floating superb passes to Nacua, Adams, and company, and still showing that he's one of the league's very best. As I said before, there are definitely still concerns around his health, but if he continues to keep playing like this, there is no doubt that these Rams will remain a serious threat in the NFC playoff hunt. On the ground, the Rams are still led by Kyren Williams, who cracked 1,300 scrimmage yards in both 2023 and 2024, and looks well on course to reach those figures again this year. Williams is a dynamic back who can be a threat in the passing game as well as on the ground, and is a real factor in the end zone, having scored 14 rushing touchdowns in 2024, a tally only bettered by 4 other men in the league. Of course, the man.
You know, it's crazy. Like I was already concerned, before Kyren Williams got drafted and before he became very productive. I was concerned on how the running game was going to be on the Rams because I was so spoiled with running backs from Marshall Faulk to Steven Jackson to Todd Gurley. When Todd Gurley was at his prime, it was crazy. So I just didn't know. And then when Kyren Williams came around, I'm like, oh, thank God. And then we got a backup in Blake Corum, who was pretty good as well. So I'm pretty satisfied in the running game when it comes to the Rams. I just wish there sometimes that they would pass the ball instead of running, but that's a whole different conversation for a different day.
Really makes the whole thing tick, though, is Sean McVay, now entering his 9th year as Rams head coach. McVay has been a revolutionary offensive mind, not just for the Rams, but also for the entire NFL, with many other franchises going for similar young offensive minds at head coach, from Matt LaFleur to Kevin O'Connell. However, none are quite like McVay, whose offense has been consistently amongst the best and most exciting in the league to watch over the past couple of years. McVay's coaching makes Stafford and company's job so much easier as he consistently uses motion, play action, and other forms of misdirection to keep other defenses off balance and help create separation for guys like Nacua and Adams. Like, when any team has a coach as good as Sean McVay, a quarterback as good as Matthew Stafford, and offensive weapons like Nacua, Adams, and Williams, it's clear that they're going to be a real threat in this league. And
Higbee is a problem too. I mean, he's not one of the top 4 or 5 tight ends in the league, but before he got injured during the wild card game against the Detroit Lions a couple years ago, he was putting up numbers. He was underrated. Like, I don't know. We got to give him a little bit more respect too.
Don't worry too, because really the defense might even be better than the offense, you could argue. This unit is led by defensive coordinator Chris Shula, who has been formidable at the start of the 2025 season. They're amongst the league's best in points allowed, aided by shutdown performances against the Texans and Ravens, where they gave up 12 points across those 2 matchups. And look, this defense is impressive across the board, but arguably the scariest aspect of the unit is the linebacker duo of Byron Young and Jared Verse, both of whom have been critical to the team's success so far this year. Verse was named Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2024, and so far this season, he looks like he might be even better this time around. However, Young has actually outshone Verse so far this year and is amongst the league's elite for sacks, alongside the likes of Aiden Hutchinson and Brian Burns. Young is now in his 3rd year in LA, and this looks like a real breakout year for him, having put up 15.5 sacks across his first 2 seasons. Now with him and Verse, there is a serious threat for any quarterback going up against this defense, and a real challenge for any head coach to plan against. On the defensive line too, the team obviously hasn't found the next Aaron Donald at defensive tackle.
No one's
really
going to do that.
Neither has anybody else.
Yeah.
But in Brayton Fisk, Panua Ford, and Kobe Turner, they have 3 guys capable of making plays up front. This is a team that ranks highly for both sacks and pressure rate, and those are the results you're going to see when you have a strong defensive line, linebackers like Verse and Young, and an excellent coaching staff. Then in the secondary, this team isn't quite as explosive, but the team is led by a solid safety pairing of Quentin Lake and Cameron Curl, and cornerback Kobe Durant, all of whom have snagged interceptions this season. In fact, very few teams in the league have forced more turnovers than this Rams team, which is obviously a crucial skill to have in this league.
Hey man, and this year, Landman has been putting up work. We got to give credit to Landman. He's been putting up work, and I feel like people don't talk about it enough, but bro, I love it.
And look, I'm not the only guy that says this too, but this defense, when they need a big play or just need plays to turn the game in their favor, they come up big when I almost said the Colts, when the Rams need them, because we all saw those examples in the Colts game, like I was going to try and say. With the score tied at 20-20 with less than 2 minutes left, Jared Verse managed a sack against Daniel Jones, forcing a fumble, which the Colts did recover, but ultimately forced them to punt on the drive. And then on the very first play of the resulting Rams drive, Stafford found Tutu Atwell for an 88-yard score, which would prove to be the game winner. And really, I think that's the big thing about what makes this Rams team just so intriguing to watch and just still a threat in the NFL, is because of how well this offense and defense complement each other so well, is that late into January, when the playoffs and just games mean a lot more, the offense is going to play up to that standard and kind of help the defense out to stay off of the field. And then vice versa, the defense is going to be able to get the ball back into Matthew Stafford's hands and the playmakers on the offense.
And not to be negative in this video, our biggest weakness right now is the kicker. The kicker, I don't know. I mean, we can. There's been a lot of people who've had blocked punts and blocked field goal kicks and stuff like that, but there have been field goals at a reasonable range that he's missed. And that's scary because going into the playoffs, especially when we play divisional rivals, and even in the playoffs, those games are going to be pretty close. And sometimes the result of the game is going to be on the shoulder of the kicker. And if we can't trust the kicker, that means we're going to be making irrational decisions when it comes to plays. Like the final play against the 49ers where they could have just thrown the ball as opposed to running it. They had to go for a save. There's moments that they could have kicked the field goal and they went for it on fourth down, which is kind of the formula that Sean McVay does a lot. But there are some situations that I feel like he wants to play it safe a little bit, but can't really fully trust the kicker to make these things happen. So that affects a lot more than people think.
And it's just what you want to see from a well-rounded football team. Like, people forget, this is a defense that is top 5 in sacks and turnovers, which are fantastic. And then you combine that with an offense that's just as explosive and has just as much firepower in Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyren Williams. If they can get the ball back into those guys' hands, and Matthew Stafford, of course, the Rams are going to be able to compete with any NFC contender like the Eagles, the Packers, the Lions, any of those teams. The Rams are going to be able to compete with them. And that's the thing too, if they can compete with any of those teams I just named, then they're going to be able to compete with anybody inside of their own division. The NFC West has really been among the best in football so far this season, with the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers all looking like playoff teams just now. However, as tough as this division is, these LA Rams are more than capable of going toe-to-toe with either of these teams, having won 3 of their last 4 meetings with Seattle and winning both matchups with San Francisco in 2024. There could as well be a close race for NFC West title glory this year, but they look like a slight favorite right now despite suffering a heartbreaking overtime loss against the 49ers on Thursday Night Football in Week 5. And don't get me wrong either, the Niners, when they're healthy, are an impressive team, but they've struggled with injuries even more than in recent years, and they've dealt with injuries to Brock Purdy, Jawan Jennings, and most recently Fred Warner this season, which are tough losses for any team to overcome. Seattle, too, is currently in the middle of a solid season themselves as they continue to look good with Sam Darnold under center, having allowed Geno Smith to leave for Vegas in the offseason. Darnold's redemption arc, which did begin last year in Minnesota, looks like it's continuing in Seattle too, but it does remain to be seen if this guy can take Seattle, as he wasn't able to do that last year with the Vikings. Crucially though, the Rams have something that only one other NFC team, which is the Eagles, have. They have a head coach and a quarterback who have won the Super Bowl and dealt with the pressure of the biggest game in all of American sports. McVay and Stafford are a great combo at dealing with pressure, blocking out the noise, and guiding their team to glory. Now look, you can't sit here and tell me too that if we didn't have a similar situation to what we saw last year in the NFC North, where we had Sam Darnold and the Vikings going up against the Lions in Detroit and just Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, you can't tell me that you wouldn't rather have your money if the same thing happened. We had the Seahawks and the Rams in week 17 this year. You can't tell me that you wouldn't rather have your money on the Rams just because they've felt that pressure, they know what to do, and they can come up in the clutch, as I just stated before, with all of these guys they have on offense and defense. And they would much rather, or not much rather, I should say, they would just handle the game much better in Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. They would handle it much better than Mike McDonald and Sam Darnold would. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that you wouldn't rather have your money on the Rams in that case than you would on the Seahawks, who don't have as much experience as the Rams do. Like, even in the playoffs too, the Rams felt like the perfect example of a team that you just don't want to face at all. In the 2025 postseason, LA was the only team to slow down the Eagles' juggernaut, ultimately succumbing 28-22 in a pulsating clash which was highly competitive throughout. This is a well-coached team with enough playmakers on both sides of the ball to be a real threat against any team in the playoffs. Like, as good as Detroit, Green Bay, and Philly might look just now, you can be absolutely sure that none of them will want to come up against Sean McVay's team in the playoffs at SoFi Stadium, or really just anywhere. Considering Matthew Stafford's health too, this could very well be his last rodeo. Since joining the Rams from Detroit in 2021, he's transformed the narrative of his career from a guy who put up impressive numbers stuck on a lousy team to a legitimate elite quarterback who has well deserved a ring and could well add another one this year. Stafford's not just a great quarterback on the field, but he seems like a great leader, and this entire Rams team and organization seems to be totally behind him. Of course, the big question still remains around his fitness, but if the Rams can keep him on the field, there's no doubt that this team has what it takes to be a serious threat come January and beyond. All in all, there really are so many things to like about this team if you are a Rams fan, or really just if you are an NFL fan. And at the same time, too, there is so much to fear if you're not a Rams fan. They have possibly the best wide receiver duo in football right now in Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. They have a star quarterback rolling back the years in Matthew Stafford. They have one of the league's very best head coaches in Sean McVay, and they have a defense capable of big plays and capable of keeping this team in absolutely any game.
I agree. This video got me excited for Sunday, y'all. Even though Puka Nacua is not going to play, I think they're going to feel very well. One of the things I think we were missing in the 49ers game, in my personal opinion, amongst other things, was Tyler Higbee. You know, I don't know if Omar Spake's going to play. I believe Havenstein is still going to be out. But I think we're going to fare well against the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though London is pretty much their second hometown. So, hey, if you're a Rams fan, give me a horns up in the comments section. If you're not, I love your comments as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. Salute. Peace. Have a great day.